What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and thank you for tuning into today's video. And if you're new here, thanks for clicking on the video or thanks for checking out the channel. New people, always welcome. Obviously, we want to reach as many people as we can here, but I got a quick one going over the H&K double action, single action trigger and the HK LEM trigger. So let's talk about each one of these, ghost them, let you know my thoughts, kind of show you how both of these work. And at the end, I'll tell you kind of what I'd pick for kind of what situation. So as always, all the firearms you see in today's video are safe and unloaded. Sorry guys, I have to do this because YouTube will take my videos down if I don't, but everything you see in today's video is safe and unloaded. All right, so let's jump in. This is my P30 with the LEM trigger from HK. It is a factory LEM. It was not swapped out from a DASA. So everything you see here is factory HK. Getting right into it, light and double action stage here on the P30 LEM trigger. Nice take up, very, very light. It's not super, super light, as light as something like the single stage that we're gonna talk about here in a minute. Still a little bit of resistance, about 3/4 of the way through the trigger pull here. It is gonna firm up just a little bit before you hit the wall. Then nice, crisp, clean break. Now, when the trigger resets, so say the slide does not cycle, say hypothetically there was no round in the chamber or the round failed to go off. Slide does not cycle, puts you in that heavy double action stage. That heavy double action stage is very, very heavy. Again here, about 3/4 of the way back, the trigger tightens up a lot. It's very hard to kind of find the wall before the break, and you end up kind of just pulling right through it because at that point you're pulling the trigger so hard. There's a lot of resistance in that heavy double action stage. All right, so let's talk about the reset here. So light and double action, pull the trigger, slide cycles, reset right there, back to the wall. Nice, crisp, clean break. So overall, very nice. It's a very unique feeling trigger. All right, so jumping into my P30L here with the heavy double action, or the double action, excuse me, you do have a decocker here on the back. So puts us in that double action. A little bit of play here in the beginning. Doesn't actually do anything, so there's no real movement of the hammer. A little bit of slop. Heavy trigger, not as heavy as the double or the heavy double action in the LEM, excuse me. Very reminiscent to a revolver. 3/4 of the way back, again, the trigger tightens up just a little bit. And again, you're pulling so hard in that double action kind of form that this trigger takes that you can't really feel a clear wall. You kind of just roll through the wall into the break. So single action now. Again, a little bit of slop here in the beginning. You feel a little bit of binding right after this kind of initial slop. Little bit of binding right here. Take up to the wall. You can feel the wall, nice distinct wall in single action. Nice, crisp, clean break. All right, so reset on single action here. Okay. Right about the same spot as the light and double action on the LEM. Again, take up, wall, crisp, clean break. Now, it is worth noting the double action on this, like I said, you do have a decocker on the back here, whereas this, you are in that light and double action, excuse me, all the time. It's a kind of hybrid feeling between a double action and single action. That's the best way to put it. If you sit here and pull the trigger on double action and then pull it on single action, that is the best way to kind of describe the feeling of the LEM in its light and double action stage. Again, there's no way to really get this to that heavy double action unless you have some sort of malfunction. But that's pretty much everything that I wanted to show you on the DASA and the LEM. So let's talk about what I would pick the LEM for. So the LEM, if I could only have one trigger option from HK, if I was only getting one of these two guns that you see here, that being a P30, P30L, P30SK, you can get this trigger in all of them. The LEM I would pick for concealed carry. Now, it is worth noting on both of these triggers, you do have the option of blocking the hammer with your thumb so that you don't accidentally set the handgun off, say maybe re-indexing it into your holster. But the LEM I like simply because the light and double action that you're always going to be in unless you have some sort of malfunction is very, very nice to kind of sit on that wall if you have to just kind of hang out there, versus the heavy double action or just the double action on the double action single action trigger. I know I'm saying double action and single action and action all the time, but the light and double action on the P30 is very pleasant to kind of sit there on that wall, and you have enough time here kind of on the initial take up to that wall to kind of think about things if you are in a self-defense situation. Now, as far as outside the waistband holster or duty use, I would probably pick the DASA simply because I like the feel of that single action trigger, especially if I'm just shooting at the range, working on groupings or drills. I like the way the double action, or the single action feels in this handgun. And I also like the fact that I have that decocker. Now, if I had to choose this handgun for a self-defense situation, I really would not trust myself with that double action simply because of how heavy that trigger is and how easy it is to kind of row through and break that trigger. There's no real distinct wall that you can kind of sit on like the LEM in the light and double action stage. It's very easy, again, to kind of hang out there on that wall without breaking the trigger. Whereas this, say hypothetically you were carrying this and you had it decocked and you had to present this handgun for whatever reason, and you are used to kind of taking up the slack in the trigger on the initial presentation, in a high stress situation, it might be very easy to accidentally bypass kind of all that and squeeze this too hard and accidentally send a round off when you don't mean to. So that's simply my reasoning behind it. It is not law, it is not fact. That's just kind of how I think about things when it comes to both these triggers and what I choose each of them for different situations. Now, hopefully that all made sense. Hopefully you got to kind of see the differences between these two and kind of understand my reasoning behind why I would pick the LEM for everyday carry versus the double action, single action for range use or duty use. And with all that being said, guys, if you enjoyed the video, if you could consider liking and subscribing, really helps my channel get out there to new people and kind of expand into this ever-growing community of all this cool gun stuff. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free, leave them down below or hit me over on Instagram in the DMs. I'll leave a link down below to that. If you just want to chat, if you want to talk about these triggers, talk about HKs, talk about anything, leave it down in the comments, guys. I'm always here to talk with you guys. And with all that being said, guys, I'll catch you in the next one.